Eh? Sì, arriva. No, no, no. Wait. Hello, can you hear me? Is anybody can hear me? Good morning, everybody.
Morning, morning.
Good morning.
Morning. Shall we start now?
Good morning, honorable members.
Podemos.
Morning.
Good morning. We're just waiting for a quorum and the meeting will start.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Do you mind if you can ask a question, please?
Morning, Chair.
Yeah, good morning. All the documentation I have are in French, so which to begin with is that the one I can see on the screen? Yeah, I think so. Yeah, thanks so much. I found myself out.
Fugiu? Isso é porque ninguém está a falar. Pensei que não tinha motivo para traduzir. Mas para traduzir. Deixa eu tirar aqui a minha pendrive da gravar. Não. Visualizar opções. O que quer dizer visualizar opções? Esse é para configurações. Está dizendo da lá, não querem. Tá lá.
Good morning, honorable members. Good morning, honorable members.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Just to remind members regarding the interpretation facility, kindly go to your, at the bottom of the screen, of your Zoom screen, and you go to interpretation. Under interpretation, you'll be given options for languages. Kindly select the language of your choice. And after that, you click mute original audio. Thank you. I hope honorable members got that.
Good morning, Sharon. Kindly also refer to chat and indicate to members that the meeting is being carried live on DSTV channel 408 and various social media platforms. So every time they take the floor, if they could kindly switch on their cameras and mention their name and country.
Okay. Good morning again, honorable members.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning. Honorable Chair,
Yes.
maybe just for now, you could temporarily remove the shared, the document that you've shared, because when the meeting starts, you need to be captured for purposes of the live broadcast that is on DSTV channel. So, and we're also just requesting honorable members to ensure that their videos are on, and when they speak, they could introduce themselves and mention the country, so that that is well captured on TV. Thank you, honorable members.
Thanks so much, man.
That's well noted. Thank you.
Effective, ça c'est adoption de l'ordre. Le plan du jour. Si j'arrive à trouver. Oui. Non, c'est ça. Regarde. Nous votons pouvoir adoption de l'ordre du jour. 11 novembre.
Mas está tudo mudo. Eu percebi. Agora só vou falar. Mas vamos só.
Are we still waiting for the quorum, please?
Yes, honorable Chair, we are waiting for one member to form a quorum.
Okay, no problem.
Thank you.
Ici. Il y a un comme ça.
Un petit instant. Annotate agenda. Opening remark, yes.
Ah, ok, je vois. Opening remark.
Vous avez allocution de bienvenue du président.
Attendez. Opening remark. Un instant, je vérifie un peu un instant, Michel.
D'accord.
C'est pas agenda annotated. Subject, sujet à examiner. Agenda annotated.
There was someone who joined, but he logged out. So maybe
Good morning, Honorable Chair.
what's the name of the
Good morning.
Good morning, honorable members. I think we now have a quorum.
Yeah. Give me 1 second, please, if you don't mind. I'm trying to check my note. Apparently, there's a little bit confusion. Is that okay?
Noted, Chair.
Okay, thank you. 1 second, bear with me. Attends encore, mais c'est quelle note que je dois donner? C'est que je comprends pas.
Apparemment, il n'y a que ça. Hein.
Il n'y a que ça. Vous savez, j'aurais pu prendre mon anglais. Mais du temps aussi.
L'autre bouche. C'est bien. Deixa eu passar então. Tudo tem um assessor ao outro. O assessor. Mas não estão falando nada. Perfeito. Não, 14h15. O presidente, não, presidente. Onde? Onde? O presidente da sessão. Número. Não é. Aqui tem stop, não termina.
Hello, members. Hello, members.
Yes, Honorable Chair.
Yeah, I do apologize. It seemed like one of the documents had never been sent out to me. So the secretary trying to send out right now. So, and also I need to underline, I've excused myself. One person has been elected, one member has been elected who's going to conduct the meeting. After that, then he can pass the message to me, so and then I can read, then I can leave, actually, because as I said, I have important meetings in the parliament, two important meetings, so that's pretty much the reason, and the schedule was collapsing. Okay, is that okay?
Yes, it's okay, Honorable Chair.
Thank you. So I'll pass the mic to the president who has been elected, which is Honorable Chitekere. I give you the floor. Is in. Hello? 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 Is anyone there? Hello?
Honorable Chair.
Yes, please, ma'am.
Yes, Honorable. You can call the meeting to order.
Okay. The meeting's in order now.
Thank you, Chair. We have a quorum. We have the chair from DRC, and we have
Okay.
Honorable Manuel from Mozambique, Honorable Matibe from South Africa, Honorable Bongela from Angola, Honorable Kawale from Malawi, Honorable Mosito from Lesotho. She's standing in for Honorable Malifan, and Honorable Morel from Mauritius. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. I think we can now proceed to consider and adopt the agenda for the meeting.
Okay. Oui, allô, un instant. Can we adopt the order for today?
Yes, Honorable Chair. Is it possible for Secretary to share the screen for the today's agenda again?
Okay. Is that, yes, I think that's the problem we had because the wrong information was being sent out to me. Unfortunately, I just got the correct information. Secretary, can you share the floor? Can you share the screen, please?
Yes, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Let me know when I need to start to begin with my speech. Can you hear me, Secretary? Can you hear me, the Secretary, please? Okay.
Yovuta na imene mfano cha chizungu analiwa DPP wana kwa sisi meje na kusuka DPP osatisewe aninjeka hadi to rush from independent join a DPP mwacharu
Uramu so wanaweza fanya
no usina yeye anamoka be independent and if you win the candidate kizuzu ni mama kaneza mimi ni sauni anapi.
Host, kindly mute those who are not taking the floor. Sharon?
The long numbers, those numbers.
There's a hand from South Africa. I don't know if the chair is available. Sharon?
Yes, ma'am. Honorable Chair.
There's a hand from Honorable Matiwe from South Africa.
What do you think?
Honorable Chair.
When you click on the Zoom button, what do you think?
Honorable Chair, I think maybe we've lost the chair. I can't seem to get him.
Is the vice chairperson of the committee available?
She's not available. She's sent her prox.
Okay. The vice? There's a hand now from South Africa, from Angola. Maybe let's, I don't know. Do you have a way of calling the interim chair?
Yes, ma'am. Let me try and do that.
Is Michelle online? Apologies, honorable members. Allow us to resolve this initial glitch, and we'll be back to business in a bit.
Hello. Recording in progress. Now, where the
Princess Damini, you are not muted.
Thank you.
No.
Welcome back, Chair.
Hello.
Welcome back, Chair.
Thank you.
Yes, Chair. There's a hand from South Africa, from Honorable Matibe.
Okay. Yes, please go ahead. No. Thank you. Thank you very much. My initial end was to move for the adoption of the agenda as it is. But I see that you are also having a challenge of network. I would propose that the proxy is a proposal that I'm putting to the meeting, that the proxy of the deputy chair be appointed as the acting chair in case you move out of the meeting because of the network, so that we don't remain standing without any person who will be acting while you are still coming back for network. But my initial end was to move for the adoption of the agenda. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Okay, no problem. Yes, we can go ahead. Can we adopt it, please?
Chair, maybe you could call for a seconder to second the agenda for adoption.
Malawi would like to second the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Yes.
Anyone else wants to second the agenda?
Honorable Chair, Honorable Kawale seconded the agenda.
09. That's that's for the meeting ID. No, the passport.
Honorable Chair.
Yes, please.
Yes, the adoption was seconded. Adoption of the agenda was seconded by Honorable Kawale from Malawi.
Okay.
Yes, so at this point, you could deliver your welcome remarks, Chair.
Yeah. So the moment you join, first you ask you for.
Okay, no problem. 1 second, please. So I can now go to my remark, please. Shall I read now? But it's in, I just sound the line is in French.
Chairperson, before you can read, there is a hand from Mozambique. We might want to hear what the honorable member wants to say.
Yes, please go ahead, honorable member.
Não, era pura e simplesmente só para poder apoiar, Sr. Presidente. Era pura e simplesmente para poder apoiar. Obrigado.
I missed a translation. Honorable Carlos.
Obrigado, Sr. Presidente. Eu levantei a mão. Obrigado, eu estava dizendo, obrigado, Sr. Presidente, pela concessão da palavra. Levantei a mão pura e simplesmente para poder apoiar, secundar o que os outros colegas o fizeram referente à adoção da agenda. Obrigado.
Yes. Yeah, I understand that you have a problem with a connection. Is that correct?
Sim, pode fazer, pode fazer. Obrigado.
Can I ask Honorable Chitekere to take the floor, please? I might have a problem with my connection. Sharon, can you hear me?
Yes, Honorable Chair, you're saying Honorable, who should take the floor?
Chitekere. Yeah, Sharon.
Yes, Chair.
Yeah, I wondered if there's any way, because I might have a problem with the connection. I understood that one member has been chosen in order to continue the meeting. Apparently, I have a very serious problem with my connection right now, and also the power has been cut off. Is that possible, please?
Okay, noted, Honorable Chair. Let me.
Thank you so much.
Honorable Mosito. Honorable Mosito, are you able to get me?
Yes, madam. Yes, Chair.
Yes, please. Are you able to take up to preside over the committee on behalf of Honorable Malifan?
Yes, even though I'm the new member on the standard PF, but I will try my level best.
Thank you, Honorable.
Thank you so much, Sharon.
Hello?
Yes, Honorable.
Yes, we have adopted the agenda. So what's the next?
The next item is to give the welcome remarks. Are you in receipt of the welcome remarks, Honorable?
No, ma'am. But in short, we can welcome all the state members to this meeting. I think they are still well, and we can now proceed. They are welcome here. We can proceed with the meeting. I can just say that a few words, madam.
Thank you, Honorable. Honorable members, the next item is consideration and adoption of minutes of the last meeting that was held on Wednesday, 11th November 2020. I will share the minutes.
Secretary, please, can you read the last minutes?
Hello, honorable members. Are you able to see the screen?
Yes, we are.
Yes, madam. I think the screen is clear.
Ausi Lerato hle ke kopa o kopane le ausi di buiseng nna ba ke sentse hard copy ka nyo eno bana le phone na ka ena le mathata ke kgone jwale be ke sentse ke tsamaisa committee ya ditaba tsa tseo tlo tla go bua ka tsona moo.
Unmute, Lesotho.
Honorable Mosito. Honorable Mosito.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, please. The minutes were shared, so I don't know if there are any corrections from the members before you move them for adoption.
Yes, madam, we can allow members to make correction on the minutes if they have it. Can we have
Chairperson, my hand
Honorable
is up.
Minister Helen Bungwela? I see the hand of Honorable Helen Bungwela from Angola. Honorable Helen Bungwela from Angola. Take floor, please. Honorable.
Muito bom dia. Portanto, eu verifiquei a ata e eu me lembro, participei na sessão do 11 de novembro, mas vejo o meu nome nas ausências. A sessão que falou do impacto do gafanhoto migratório. Eu fiz parte desta sessão, até intervi. Não sei. Está registrada aí uma falta. Achei não justo. Apenas essa minha intervenção com relação à ata.
Thank you, Honorable. Interpreter, please.
Honorable Chairperson, my hand is up.
Sim, sim. Não sei se me fiz perceber. Peço desculpa, não sei se me fiz perceber.
Honorable Matibe, RSA, Republic of South Africa. Honorable Matibe from South Africa, please. Take the floor, sir. Honorable Matiba, do you hear me? Honorable Matiba?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
thank you
realize
very
your hand,
much.
sir.
Honorable Chairperson, the interpretation is still speaking. I'm unable to make my intervention. Thank you very much. I think the correction on the issue of Honorable Benguela from Angola must be noted because she was present in the meeting. I think it should be the first correction that we do. But on page 3, paragraph 1 of the minutes, it says, lastly, Honorable Matibe called all honorable members to fully, it was supposed to say participate in the deliberations, but it says participant. So that is a correction that I think I would also want to make an intervention on. And if there are no further corrections, I therefore move that we adopt the minutes with the corrections that have been made from Angola and from South Africa.
Thank you, Mr. Matiba. It has been moved that the agenda or the minutes be adopted with the correction that have been done by South Africa and Angola.
My sincere apologies, Chair. Also to indicate that there are corrections coming from the screen. Madagascar has also made a small correction regarding the name of the member. If we could also focus on that for some input, thank you.
You say Madagascar, Secretary?
Indeed, Chair, just to say, in addition to all the other inputs, we must consider those on the chat. Madagascar has made an intervention. Sharon will accordingly take note for the record.
Noted, ST.
Thank you. The next item.
Next item, Honorable Chair, is matters arising from the minutes of the previous meeting.
Then in section 42 is just trying to alienate the minister from.
Can we go on with the matters arising from the previous minutes? Honorable members. Matters arising from the previous minutes. Honorable members.
There's a hand from Honorable Matibe, South Africa.
Honorable Matibe from Republic of South Africa. Take floor, sir.
Thank you very much. I think the resolutions were very clear, and part of the resolution was that we must raise it in plenary, the issue of as raised in terms of the locust, African migratory locust, and which was raised, and the plenary also adopted the input from the committee. From where I'm standing, all the resolutions that were indeed implemented, and some are still in progress. And I don't see any further inputs that I can make from my side. But it's quite an important topic which we raised in plenary as well. And plenary received it very well. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Thank you, Mr. Matiba. Is there any other?
No, normally what is the 5 puller, 7 puller, depending here.
Hello, is there any other arising matters from the previous minutes?
Because if you were to know what
You can just request Honorable Majaka to mute because we can hear you.
2,000 to 1,000. Then from there,
Honorable Majaga.
Because we can organize good things. Work out.
IT, please mute.
Yeah, 4 ton or 5 ton.
Is there any arising matters? Honorable members, any other arising matters from the minutes? Honorable members?
Chairperson, I think there is no further. We can move on. I propose.
Thank you, Mr. Mative. Could we please proceed to the next item?
Thank you, Chair. I think now we'll move to the presentations, and there's only one presentation this morning from the Southern African Development Community. They'll be presenting on the theme of the committee, which is harnessing domestic tourism in times of pandemics, a case of the COVID-19 pandemic, the role of parliaments. And Mr. Gove, who is a director from SADC, will be making the presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You can proceed.
Good morning, honorable members of the SADC Parliamentarian Forum. Bon dia, bonjour, habari za asubuhi. My name is Domingos Gove. I am the Director of Food, Agriculture and Natural Resources. And I have my colleague, Mr. Morere Mabote, who is the Senior Program Officer at Tourism. And the two of us will be able to share the presentation from the SADC Secretariat. Let me first of all manifest our appreciation for being invited to attend this meeting. It is really a pleasure to be seated here and share our work for your consideration and further consideration. We do understand that you will be able to move with the relevant steps to address this specific topic. If you allow me, Chair, I would make a presentation through the PowerPoint I can share with you so that I can have a presentation facilitated rather than just doing the presentation on my own. With your permission, I will share the presentation. Thank you, Chair. I hope it's being printed now. Thank you, Chair. I will start by giving some on the tourism work with it. Thank you. I will start with providing some context on the work of tourism work within the SADC Secretariat, so that on the situation, on the reality that we are addressing this, you can make your further guidance and inputs. I hope it is. Yes, the context of of tourism within the SADC Secretariat is that we used to have a subsidiary institution that was responsible for tourism market and communication, which is the Regional Tourism Organization for Southern Africa. This organization was private-led, using the tourism board of the SADC member state, and it was not run exactly by the government, as per the decision taken by the minister responsible for tourism in 2016 in Botswana. Unfortunately, this organization has been facing a lot of financial and administrative challenges. Financial because it was agreed when this organization was established that the member state would provide seed funding while Retosa was producing its strategic plan to be able to secure its sustainability and to run on its own its work. But for some reason, several member states, they had some challenges to provide this funding. So these affected negatively in terms of the capacity of this organization to run and be alive. But in addition to that, there were serious administrative challenges by the people that were running Retosa, namely the chief executive officer of the board, of the secretariat, sorry, that had some problems with the money from Retosa. So all these adverse situations have affected the survival of Retosa. Within that context, the Council of Ministers took a decision in Windhoek, Namibia, in August 2018 in their meeting to wind up Retosa so that the damage could be limited, and then the region could try to find a better way to move with tourism activities at the regional level. The process of winding up Retosa is still progressing. We have been as SADC Secretariat directed several times to address specific aspects related to the winding up of Retosa. One of them was to engage a legal expert to engage with the former Retosa employees so that a settlement of the payments could be secured and their interests could be addressed. This is a process that is moving. The process has been put in height in South Africa. SADC Secretariat is negotiating with the former Retosa employees outside the court to settle this process. The second aspect in relation to the winding up of Retosa is the liquidation of Retosa so that it's legally closed. And this is a process that took some time, mainly to identify the adequate liquidators that are fully conversant with the legal framework in South Africa. Fortunately, we were able to identify a liquidator, and the company is currently doing the liquidation process. So with those two processes, Retosa will be completely closed, and then the member state will be trying to look other ways of better addressing the work that Retosa used to address, which was mainly communication and marketing the whole SADC region as one tourism destination. The aspects of policy and governance are being handled by the Tourism Coordination Unit that is part of the SADC Secretariat under my directorate. So this is one of the contexts. The second one is the review of protocol of, and the revision of protocol of tourism was decided by the minister responsible for tourism to cater for the institutional updating that was in the protocol, because Retosa was there, and I think Retosa was also addressing policy aspects. When a decision was taken by the ministers that Retosa should only focus on communication and marketing, that has not been reflected in the protocol of tourism. So they decided to launch the process for reviewing the protocol of tourism. While we were reviewing the protocol of tourism to cater for that specific reality, Retosa was winded up. So we had to include the winding up of Retosa in the protocol so that Retosa could be taken out from the protocol of tourism, and whatever arrangement would be agreed by the member state would be part of other instruments and not in the protocol because Retosa is no longer there. We are finalizing currently the revision of the protocol of tourism. These will be submitted to the next ministerial committee Environment, Natural Resource and Tourism planned to take place in June 2021. And if it is approved, then it will follow the process through the ministers responsible for justice and attorney generals. And then after that, if it's approved, it will go to the Council of Ministers and then to the Summit of Head of States. So another aspect to take into account in terms of the current situation as far as tourism sector is concerned within the SADC Secretariat. The other aspect is the development and approval of the program of tourism for the decade 2020-2030. This was approved by the Committee of Ministers responsible for tourism in Arusha, United Republic of Tanzania in October 2019. And when it was approved, the ministers, they directed a list of actions that we as Secretariat would have to in order to start the implementation of the program of tourism. The other aspect that I would like to convey to the is in relation to the structure of tourism sector within the SADC Secretariat. This structure, as you may recall, it was approved by the Council of Ministers in their meeting in Eswatini in March 2017, which they approved the whole structure of SADC Secretariat, including tourism. Some of the honorable members of the SADC Parliamentarian Forum will recall that tourism was within the Directorate of Infrastructure and Services before this date of March 2017. And after that, following the restructuring, it was moved from the Directorate of Infrastructure to my Directorate of Food, Agriculture, and Natural Resources. So I am sharing the current structure. You will see that we have the SADC Executive Secretary at the top, and then we have the Deputy Executive Secretary Regional Integration, to which we report to, and also the Executive Secretary Corporate Affairs. And my directorate is here, the Food and Agriculture Natural Resources Directorate. And we have a Natural Resource and Wildlife Unit, a Climate Change Unit, and the new unit that was approved in March 2017, which is the Tourism Unit. And then we have Food Security and Agriculture Unit and the Plant Genetic Resource Center based in Lusaka in Zambia. So this is the new structure since 2017 March. And if I zoom into my directorate, I will focus on tourism. The tourism is composed by two positions, the Senior Product Tourism and the Program Officer Policy and Market Development. You will note that these two positions are the so-called flex positions, which means that they are not paid by the annual contribution from the member states. for able to find people to be working in this unit for the terms, which is 100% of those positions. We have either to request member state to second people to be here doing the tourism work, or engage with the international cooperating partners to provide their resources so that they can meet the cost of those officers in the tourism unit. We have been trying for a while to find resources through the international cooperating partners. We have not been successful so far due to a number of reasons. But fortunately, through our open bidding process within the SADC member states, all of them, we have been able to have the support from the Republic of Botswana, who has been able to provide good qualified resource person that is currently running the entire unit of tourism within our directorate. And that is Mr. Morere Maboti that is joining in this meeting. We are still continuing to look for resources through member state direct contribution by secondment and also through ICP funding to complete the number of positions that was approved by the Council of Ministers. So I will, after providing that context, I will get into more in detail in relation to the tourism program 2020. Indicated this was approved by the joint meeting of SADC ministers responsible for environment, natural resources, and tourism in October in Arusha. In addition to removal of the SADC tourism program, they have directed SADC secretariat to prepare a cost action plan that will facilitate the implementation. Normally, when a strategy or a program is approved, if be done, then that strategy will be staying there for decades without proper implementation. So the ministers were very careful to ensure that due to the relevance of tourism work on the ground and considering all the challenges that has happened, including the Retosa winding up, there was a need to fast track the process to ensure that the tourism program that was approved could be implemented quickly on the ground. And that should be a costed action plan, which would include also the resource mobilization strategies and aspects related to Boundless Southern Africa, which is a regional institution that was established during the World Cup 2010 to maximize the impact of that event for tourism in the region. And it is centered mainly in the development of tourism in Transfrontier Conservation Area. This organization since then has been hosted by the government of South Africa through the Department of Environment, Forests and Fisheries. And through the discussion, there was a need to support government has been having since then until now in hosting this institution so that it could be regionally be addressed within the context of implementing the recently approved tourism program 2020-2030. The tourism program, if I can quickly go through it has been produced as part of an existing song, which includes the SADC protocol on development of tourism that we also in 2009, which is again under review now as I said earlier. So the tourism program is part of the implementation of the SADC protocol on the tourism. It's also of the implementation of SADC protocol on wildlife conservation and law enforcement, because one of the most important elements of the SADC protocol is the implementation of tourism conservation areas. It's also of the implementation of SADC protocol on shared water courses, which is one of the elements that is the basis for the establishment of transfrontier conservation areas, because the water is a key element to have the habitat for the delimitation of the transfrontier conservation areas. But also tourism is part of the implementation of the SADC protocol on trade and services, because there is a lot of aspects addressing services in the implementation of tourism. It is also part of the implementation of the Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan. You will recall the Council of Ministers in their virtual meeting that was held August 2020. They approved the new Regional Indicative Strategic Development Plan 2020-2030. So tourism is fully part of the RSDP. And equally, it is part of the implementation of the SADC Transfrontier Conservation Areas Program that has been approved in 2030. So that is the legal framework that supports the implementation of the tourism program. In terms of the view, very briefly, the vision is both in cross-border, multi-destination travel and SADC will exceed average global tourism growth levels. So in other words, we use the growth of tourism in the global perspective and will be higher than the global tourism levels. That is the vision. And this would be due to excellent tourism collaboration and coordination of tourism policies, programs, and practice in the region. So the vision of the tourism program is to look at the entire world and bring the development of tourism specific to the SADC region. I will not like to deal in detail with tourism because I think that's the aim of this presentation, but I wanted to share the important goals, to present strategic view of the tourism program. It has 5 goals. The first goal to be able to achieve desolate visitor movement and flows to SADC region, but equally to stimulate that movement of visitors within the region. So there are 2 components. There is not looking outside the region, it's looking equally outside and inside the region. That is goal number 1. And the number 2 goal is to improve and defend the tourism reputation and image of the region. I think that is very key for tourism as a sector. If we defend and we communicate adequately the image of the region, we'll be able to capitalize the income through tourism, because tourism will be attractive. And this is specifically the area that Retosa used to be championing as part of the implementation of the regional tourism work in our region. The third element or third goal is developing tourism in transfrontier conservation areas. So the region of SADC is one of the regions in the entire world that is taking conservation very seriously. The TFCA concept, which is looking to the landscape, which does not look into the borders among the countries. This is a concept that exists internationally. The SADC region is the region that is the champion in terms of implementing this concept. And to be able to implement and maintain on a sustainable basis, tourism is a key element. So when we are talking about the TFCAs, implicitly we include also tourism. So this is a goal for developing tourism in TFCAs to be able to maintain the conservation of those ecosystems, to produce more benefits for the countries, but equally for the wildlife and also for the livelihood of the local communities living adjacent or inside the TFCAs. And the fourth goal is to improve the quality of The fourth goal is to improve the quality of visitor experience and satisfaction level. This is key because for us to be able to have an increasing number of tourists, we have to count on those that have already visited the region. So for them to come back, we have to increase the quality of their experience and their satisfaction level, so that when they come back, they don't come back alone, they come back with more people. So that is another goal that is part of the tourism program. And the fifth one is maximizing tourism partnership and collaboration. And this is key when we want to sell the tourism looking into SADC region as one tourism destination. So these are the 5 core goals of the tourism program 2020-2030. And in the context of COVID, when we were directed by the ministers responsible for tourism to develop the costed action plan to implement the tourism program that they had approved, the member state, when we engage with the member states in the development of terms of reference for that costed action plan, all the member states indicated that there was no reason of taking fully the impacts of COVID-19 into the strategy, into the action plan to implement the regional tourism. Although the regional tourism had been developed in a situation where COVID was not there, the member states, they indicated that it was critical to include the impacts of tourism and how the tourism program will address the COVID-19, because after the health sector, which has been heavily impacted by COVID with death and contamination and so forth, the following sector that has been heavily affected by COVID is tourism. So it would not make sense to implement or to develop a costed action plan without COVID there as fully and integral part of the implementation of the costed action plan to operationalize the regional tourism program. So one of the elements or some of the elements that have been proposed in that context was assessing the current tourism context and development scenarios in view of impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, and also adjust priorities and further elaborating on the proposals contained in SADC tourism to take into account the COVID-19 pandemic. So in terms of the impact of COVID pandemic to the SADC tourism sector, I have to indicate that we don't have a final report. The COVID is still here, and every day it is behaving in a way that in the best plan I will not be prepared for that. When we were developing the costed action plan, we were still in the first wave. We were around in June, August. We didn't know that there would be a second wave. We didn't know even that it would be a third wave. And even we didn't know that it would be a fourth wave. And we don't know if the fourth wave would be the end or there will be a series of other waves coming. So addressing the impacts of COVID, it's still an open work because we still don't understand this pandemic and the impacts. The only thing that we know for sure is that the tourism sector has been heavily impacted, that it's almost at zero. So it has to start from those levels to move forward. And during that period in April, May, we had developed some scenarios in terms of the impact of COVID and the recovery. So definitely the impact on tourism was negative in terms of tourism development. And optimistic scenario, which is scenario 1, was talking about a reduction of -58%, of the tourism revenues. The actual data that was collected in the region was indicating in that time, around March, negative growth of 57%. So the impact was really very big. So the scenario one was more or less end of 2020. The COVID will be over and then probably will still be negative, but probably will be almost close to the situation before COVID came in. That is not the situation. Situation is even worse. The scenario two was showing a part of a negative growth of 70%. And the scenario three was indicating a negative growth of around minus 80%. So you can see that really when we are talking about tourism, we are talking about scenarios that no one was able to predict. The scenarios are really very, 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 very bad. This is a sector that has been hit up to almost non-existent level. From the United Nations World Tourism Organization, the expectation was that the loss of tourists in the entire world would be up to 1 billion international tourists that will be, which would imply a loss of between 910 billion US dollars to 1.2 trillion US dollars in terms of exports revenues. The impact in terms of work will be between 1 to 120 million direct jobs that would be affected. That was the prediction in that time. Surely the prediction is worse now because it's the second and third waves. For the region of SADC, that the losses in terms of jobs would be between 2 to 4.5 million tourism jobs that are directly related to tourism. Surely those predictions were better than the reality now with these second and third waves. And in terms of financial gains, losses, it would be between 18 to 40 billion US dollars in terms of tourism only in the SADC region. So in terms of the assessment that we did and the opportunities and threats, is that in terms of opportunities in a COVID-19 situation, we are looking into tourism. We should capitalize on law in either number of tourists, because we are in COVID-19, to be able to be compliant with the social distancing, nature-based tourism, as well as low risk of infection tourism. So that would be an opportunity for restarting with the tourism development in the region, considering the COVID impact. Also, we should strengthen and promote travel corridors and cross-border routes, very clear one, that will then be agreed among the member states so that they should be facilitated to open the entire SADC region as a tourism destination. Because if you just look to one country,
Mr. Donis?
I've been cut. I'm sorry, I have been cut.
Yes, carry on, sir.
Okay, I'm not allowed to go back to video, but I will try to share again the presentation. Here,
hello, Mr. Donis?
The promotion of travel corridors, very well identified, building on strength of all the different countries within the region, streamlining of immigration and visa processes to facilitate further the movement of tourism across the region. Because even without COVID, we know that the processes to facilitate the travel of tourists within the region are still challenging. And it is in that context that SADC, the member states, have taken the decision to adopt what they call the Univisa to facilitate that every tourist in the region, once he or she is in the region, could travel easily within the region. So with COVID, that situation is even worse, because now even if you have visa to travel, it's really very challenging. So the area as an opportunity is to streamline the immigration and the visa process among the countries to facilitate the tourism, this cross-border movement within the region. And this also includes adopting consistent standards of procedures that should be standard across the region, so that the tourist is not faced with different procedures in each of the countries. So there should be adoption of consistent standard of procedures across SADC to address the aspect of safe travel stamp along the region. You will recall that there is a discussion that is happening worldwide to facilitate the movement of people. There is these different members are considering along, worldwide. So that is another aspect that is opportunity that should be looked at the SADC region. The other aspect is implementing a domestic and regional tourism marketing strategic drive. Normally, when we are seated in the region, we are looking mainly to outside. What the SADC tourism program is saying is that we have to look equally with the same priorities, the regional and domestic tourism. So it's not just looking outside. And we have information, we have facts that demonstrate that if you consider adequately the domestic, that means inside each country and regional, the SADC member states, you can produce a substantial revenue in terms of tourism. The opportunity that COVID has posed to us is not only to look outside, but equally to the domestic and regional tourism, to be able to revive tourism. Another opportunity, look into the transfrontier conservation areas as a greenfield for communities. We can do classic tourism in the bigger cities and all these, but there is an opportunity to look into TFCAs, because in TFCAs, in frontier conservation areas, you have low density tourism, more space, which is more response to COVID procedures. So if we put the TFCAs as one of the important elements to promote the tourism in the region, that would be positive in revamping tourism, and also to reorient the tourism value chain towards sustainability, which is also related to TFCA's approach. So these are the opportunities that exist in a COVID. It will show that when the impact of COVID are heavily impacting on tourism, we have to be creative. We can't be affected in terms of death, in terms of contamination, and then tourism collapse completely. We have an opportunity to identify and find opportunities in specific context of COVID. And these are the elements that are being presented as opportunity. But equally, there are threats. There is a product dilution because of COVID-19 travel limitations. Fortunately, this is a situation that is caution. There were travel limitations before, but now it's possible to travel. So it is a threat that is still there in case the contaminations pick up, that into account. There is also continued restrictive travel advisories in source markets like in Europe and North America to our region. Probably there is still being restrictive because of COVID. At that time, we put as a possibility, but it became to be a reality. It was and now there is a possibility of third and fourth wave. And we still don't know whether the fourth wave may be the end or will go of several waves until this pandemic it is adequately addressed worldwide. So there is a threat. There is an aspect of travel insurance exclusion of COVID cover, which makes it very difficult for people to travel because that threat is not included in the travel insurance. There is also the airline failure. We know that the air to travel from one country to another, they were and they are still facing this challenge. So it is a threat for tourism development in the context of COVID, and also the travel fear, which is something specific for any person, a specific person. They would travel, but they have a fear. So that is a threat for development of tourism. So, but also the opportunity in the context of COVID and looking to our specific region.
Mr. Domins?
And in terms of the approaches to recovery of tourism, there are different scenarios, both at international level. We went through them. For example, the United Nations World Tourism Organization, they have developed and considered a technical assistance package, which would include to address the development of tourism in the context of recovery after COVID, which would include economic recovery, which would include aspects of market and promotion. And you will notice that in the SADC tourism program, the market and promotion is one, actually second goal, the program, and also includes aspects of institutional strengthening and business reliance. So those are key areas that the National World Tourism Organization indicates to be followed to address the recovery of tourism after COVID. Also, we were able to look into the World Bank because also they have to address COVID impacts in the context of recovery. And here they include immediate response, which are aspects to be addressed during the crisis, and a little bit after the crisis, which address early recovery, and then short-term recovery when the crisis, the pandemic subsides, and then medium-term recovery to build the resilience in a long term for pandemics, which will come in. Now we are speaking about COVID-19, but there will be other pandemics coming anytime in the future. So it's important that the recovery process take into account. Looking into the SADC area, the SADC opening approach includes stage 1, 2, and 3. The stage 1 would be a trial phase, which would include opening up, of course, with caution, because of the impact of COVID on people. If you have more people together, then the pandemic can rise again. So it will be, which will be caution, will be opening up and adopting protocols and safety measures. This is very critical to build the confidence, so that people, when they come, either domestic tourism, regional tourism, and international tourism, people are confident that they will be practicing this without putting their health at risk. or exposing at a minimum risk. This is very critical. After that stage, there will be a second stage, which will be early and advanced opening stage. Then we'll open a little bit more and focusing on domestic and regional markets. So the strategy is to start with stage 1, where we'll be adopting the protocol and safety measures. Stage 2, open a little bit, but we'll focus on domestic and regional markets, and expanding to key source markets, which are Europe, Asia, and so on. But first priority would be the total opening of the countries and start of the fully implementation of SADC tourism program as it was adopted by the ministers in 2019. So that is the proposed way forward in terms of how the region should open its tourism, considering the impact of COVID. Some to consider towards tourism recovery includes the implementation of consistent standard operating protocols across the region. This is key to build the confidence. People are still sitting in their houses. People are still under curfews and all the travel limitations. So for them to be able to travel, even within the country in a domestic tourism or across the countries in the SADC region as a regional tourism, part of the regional tourism, we have to have in all the member states consistent standard operating protocols. That is key. Because if someone travels from Botswana to Namibia and find a specific set of operating protocols, and then the same person when travel to South Africa finds another, that will be prohibitive for that person to travel for tourism. So they should be standard operating so that once it's agreed by the member states, it is implementable in all the SADC region. That is key to the confidence and to facilitate the life of tourists. The second aspect to consider for the recovery in the COVID context is to establish regional travel corridors so that we can at least have important regional travel corridors, which are the packages. For example, it can be the Great Limpopo Transfrontier Conservation Area, for example, linking Kruger National Park, the Limpopo National Park, and the Kruger National Park as a specific travel corridor for tourists, which is clear with very consistent standard operating protocols. We can sell that travel corridor for any tourists, be domestic, be regional, be international. That is key, because at least we can ensure that the tourists, they can move with clear procedures and with full engagement of the member states. Opening the tourism to everywhere, it may not be easier for the capacity and the resources that the member states have. But for specific regional travel corridors and concentrate while they are building confidence, while they are building capacity to expand to other areas, buying visa and immigration process. We know that even before COVID, visa and immigration process were a little bit troublesome. So the key issue to consider by the member state is simplified visa. Their experience of UniVisa in the region within TFCAs. We have experience between Zimbabwe and Zambia. That is an experience that can be expanded to other areas within the TFCAs, even beyond the TFCAs. That is a work that as SADC Secretariat with the member state, we are working, including the Committee of Public Security, to ensure that all these elements are domesticated in the legal framework of the member state, and it's not just made as an ad hoc approach. So that is an issue to consider. Addressing aspects of reputational management and crisis communication is very key, so that we can minimize any bad thing that can happen, utilize on the successes so much of the tourists in the region, brings confidence to everyone and call everyone to come in that exists in the region. Improving and reestablishing air access is another aspect. Economic relief for those that are directly engaged in tourism, the private sector could be addressed with this economic relief and improved collaboration among the member states. So these are the key issues that have been tabled for the member states to consider and to work closely together in order to quickly revamp the tourism sector in the context of COVID pandemic. Here we are repeating the information that I have indicated earlier. You will see the facilitation of immigration is the most important area to be addressed in short to medium term, and also coordinating recovery plans and tourism relief. So these are, how can I say, the inputs that we have received from the relevant stakeholders in tourism in the region, including the governments, which are the ministries are here, the private sector, private operators, and also from TFCA. So we agglutinated all the feedback, and you will see that there is a correlation among all the different stakeholders in terms of which are the key priorities to be addressed to revamp the tourism following or in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. Thank you very much. Muito obrigado. Merci beaucoup. Asante sana.
Thank you, Mr. Domins. Thank you for your presentation. I don't know if there is any remarks or questions or any clarification from honorable members. If there is, could you please raise our hands? If there is any remarks,
Chair, with your permission,
or clarifications.
Yeah, Chair, with your permission, I have my colleague Mureri Mabote. He may come in also to provide more details because he's the guru in this area.
Okay,
I'm just representing the entire directorate. If he's willing to, yes, thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Domins. Mr. Muriri, could you please take the floor?
Thank you very much, Chair. Well, I think the director has actually touched on quite a number of areas that we are dealing with. I think maybe as an emphasis, because at the end of the day, if I recall, the essence of the theme was to look at the role of Parliament. I think what I would like to appreciate and probably request, in addition to what the director has mentioned, is to say that we would need a support because we are implementing the SADC Uni visa. I think it's a process that has taken quite a long time. And I believe, honorable members, you are keen to ensure that you see a unified SADC Uni visa in the region. So this is one of those key areas that I thought, in addition to what the director has mentioned, we really need to, we need your support in implementing that one. And lastly, I would say we are actually implementing some of the aspect of the coastal action plan, which has taken into consideration the need to expand the domestic market. It is one of those elements that the director has mentioned. And where possible, we will need, we are working with, I would say we are working with some of the, our ICPs to assist us with regard to injecting some COVID relief funding in order to try and fast track recovery of the sector. I thought maybe I just wanted to mention those because most of the elements the director has actually mentioned. Thank you very much, Chair.
Okay, Mr. Muriri. We can now hear from honorable members if they have remarks, questions, or clarification on the presentation. Any remarks? We can proceed to the next item, our secretary.
Honorable Chair.
Hello, honorable members. Hello. Honorable members. Any clarification on the presentation? Hello.
Honorable Chair, there is a hand from South Africa, Honorable Matibe.
Honorable Matibe, take floor, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chairperson. I think we can start by welcoming the presentation. It was a well-received presentation and indeed well presented. I think the topic that we are discussing is quite important in terms of the economic recovery of not only SADC country, but countries that rely on tourism in terms of the economy. And it impacts heavily on SADC countries because most of them rely on tourism in terms of assisting the economy and economic growth. The opportunities that the presentation raised are more than welcomed. I think the key focus for us is the issue of simplifying visa and immigration procedure. As soon as countries will be open to be able to tour across each other. But currently, as we speak, we are still in a pandemic, and countries have got different restrictions in terms of dealing with the pandemic. Others are yet to open up their borders. Others have already opened up their borders. And what I see is key for tourism to move up is the way in which we deal with the threats of the pandemic across SADC, meaning that if we fast track the issue of vaccination, then it will reduce the threat of travel fear that we can have. And indeed, we will be relying, while the issue of pandemic is still there, all the countries, member states will be relying more on domestic tourism. And it's one area that we need to do and harness as member states, as well as trans-frontier tourism across SADC area is one area that I think we should improve on. The issue of visa and immigration procedures is quite important if we are to forklift tourism in SADC, because it's a very key strategic area to boost our economies of all SADC countries. Different countries have got different approaches, like in South Africa, there is COVID relief funds which were given. They might not be enough, but they were able to assist in one way or another tourism sector, which was heavily affected by the lockdown. There is also Tourism Equity Fund, which also do assist the sector. So it will be important that as SADC countries, we share experiences in terms of how each member states dealt with economic recovery and recovery of tourism in each and every member state, so that indeed we can do assist. But the issue of tourism visa, I think, is quite important, that as soon as we are open, we should have dealt with the issue of tourism visa, so that touring in SADC countries is not a difficult thing, because it must be simplified so that it assists in uplifting the economies of each member state. Thank you very much. That will be my intervention for now.
Thank you, Mr. Matibe. Honorable members, is there any remarks, questions, or clarification? Honorable members. Honorable members. If there is none, can we proceed with the next item, Secretary?
Thank you, Chairperson. We only had one presentation.
Okay.
Honorable Chair, there is a hand from Mr. Gove.
Mr. Gove, could you please take the floor?
Thank you, Chair. I'm having challenges to put my video, but I think the organizer of the meeting cut me because I was kicked out from the call, probably because of my challenges with them. Yes, now I'm back. Yes, Chair and distinguished honorable members, I wanted to indicate that we will be sharing with you for your further consideration and to facilitate your work, and also to support the work of the Parliamentarian Forum, and also to support our work as SADC Secretariat. We'll be sharing the full program for development of tourism for your information. We'll also share the reviewed protocol of tourism, and we will be sending through the Secretariat the updates on the progress of work of tourism, so that you can assess and then you can guide us whenever you feel necessary. So we'll be providing that information. As my colleague Morera has indicated, we are already working towards the establishment of Univisa for the entire SADC region. This is a process that is building on the successful implementation of Univisa in TFCAs with in Kaza TFCA, the Kavango Zambezi Transfrontier Conservation Area between Zambia and Zimbabwe, and is operating very well. It went beyond engaging the natural resource conservation authorities up to the police and security, which means that it's a sustainable process. And building on that, we are working now through our consultancy and engaging with member states towards fast-tracking the process of development of Univisa. And in that regard, within your capacity, would like to appeal and request your support so that you engage with your capitals and be able at least to inform them of the relevance of this. It's critically important for development of tourism as a region. But in addition to the work on Univisa, I would like to use this opportunity to indicate that there is an important protocol that is also important for tourism development, which is the Protocol on Environment, which has been signed by 14 SADC member states, and so far has been ratified by 8 member states. This is a protocol that has been approved in 2014, and it is still not in force because it has not yet been ratified by 2/3 of the SADC member states. We would be also happy to share all the information so that you can support the region to facilitate this process so that the ratification process could be fast-tracked and this protocol could enter into force. It is key for the development of tourism because, as it was indicated, the transfrontier conservation areas are one of the key pillars for development of tourism in the region, and the protocol environment will be key to ensure that all the work that is being done respects sustainability and the environment. I submit, Chair, and thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Gold. I realize the hand of Buyemo Sukoma. Could you please take the floor? Buyemo Sukoma, please, could you please take the floor, please? SADC Secretary Buyemo Sukoma, could you please take the floor? I've realized your hand. Secretary? Committee Secretary?
I don't know,
Yes,
Chairperson,
yes,
whether
yes.
she's hearing you. She's the Secretary General, the one you're calling. I don't know as whether she's hearing.
Yeah, I've realized the hand of Secretary General Buyemo Sukoma, so I don't know if she hears me.
Honorable Chair, I think the Secretary General is not hearing you. I stand to be corrected. I don't know if she had raised her hand. I seem not to have captured that.
Yes. Honorable Chair, she's quickly busy on another line. As soon as she's done with that, she'll join again.
Committee Secretary, could you
I'm back,
please?
Ronald. Apologies, Chair.
Okay.
Yes. If I may kindly hear what the question was. I was on a call.
Is it Secretary General?
Yes, Honorable.
Okay, thank you, Kiron. We don't see your pic.
No, my camera cannot go on now, Chair.
Okay.
Yes,
Go on.
apologies, I'm in a meeting.
Okay.
Yes, and that.
Okay, proceed.
I didn't get the question, Honorable Chair.
Or we just want if there is any remarks, question, or clarification on the presentation of Mr. Domingos. Go.
Okay. No, just to join the members in appreciating the presentation and to basically follow through in terms of the key areas that would allow this committee to pursue some of the recommendations. I think that would be worthwhile, and to flag some of these at the plenary assembly level. The historical picture that has been given by SADC earlier on and what obtains currently has a huge bearing on the citizenry of SADC, its natural resources in terms of what we can leverage. And therefore, I believe that this is timely for the committee to further interrogate the recommendations and be clear with the plenary assembly on where you'd like to see progress.
Thank you. Committee Secretary, could you please proceed with the next item if there is no more remarks or questions? Would you please proceed to the next item?
Thank you, Chair. Secretariat, I'll prepare the recommendations and I will share with the committee later. But for now, I think you can conclude. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we will now adjourn our meeting for lunch. We will be back at 2 o'clock afternoon.
Sorry, Honorable Chair, the program was adjusted. My apologies. I should have brought that to your attention, but the one that was approved is only ending, it was supposed to end at 12:30. So there's no afternoon program because the resource person didn't confirm. Thank you, Chair.
So now we are at the quotations and resolutions.
Yes, Chair.
So can I read? Okay, thank you. Following the presentations and discussions, the FNR committee concluded and resolved as follows. SADC member parliaments to advocate and lobby respective governments to adequately fund and capacitate institutions mandated to manage the spread of the African
excuse me, Honorable Chair, sorry to interrupt you. My apologies. Yes, Chair. I was saying that I will prepare the recommendations and I'll share them with the committee later.
Okay.
So for now, probably you can just conclude and thank the resource persons and close the meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Our committee secretary. I would like to thank all the honorable members who participate on this meeting, and also to thank Mr. Domingos Gove and Mr. Murir Mabote for their presentations. Really, we appreciate. Thank you, all the members and all our interpreters. Thank you till we meet again. Thank you, all the members. And the meeting is adjourned till further notice.
Thank you, Chair.